Oh, hi everyone, and welcome to the Scratticus Academy. Welcome to the season finale of Dunera. I think we're all a little bit hyped, nervous, and excited for this. Also, thank you so much, Sphinx, for that donation. That's incredible. Thank you. We will go through that in just a moment. Otherwise, please check out the links in chat now. That includes Discord. We have a channel just for this game, and we would love to hear what you think about it. Also, as we said, this is the finale week. It's going to be a crazy week, and we will be starting another season soon. I think we have at least 5 D&D viewer games next season. One of them, which I'm running. I'm actually coming back to run a viewer game for the first time since season 1. So please drop Scrat a message over on Twitter. Also, if you've missed out on anything, head over to YouTube and check it out as well. Otherwise, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors in the form of Hero Forge that have completely smashed their goal. Go check them out. Also Mage Hand Press that do the wonderful Dark Matter, and the Deck of Many with the Deck of Many things. Otherwise, we're going to jump straight in and say hello to everyone, and we're going to start, as we always do, with the very lovely Jagon's Gold. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. I am Jay, or Jagon's Gold. I hope everyone is thriving on this wonderful finale evening. I certainly am. I am so excited. Is it the Kraken? Is it an island? Is it a tortoise or a shark? Who knows? Yeah, I'm so excited. I play Paula Packer, Dancer Librarian, and that's me.
Wonderful, thank you. Then we're going to hop down and say hello to the lovely Tool School. Oh, hi.
Hey, how are you doing? I play Tolan Falk, who is sort of an older, curmudgeonly, retired seeker explorer, and he has been, I have been living out my Star Trek dreams as I try to repair this engine real time live, throwing out crazy terms of things and stuff, and I am, yeah, you're going to hear me totally riffing random Star Trek things. It's the tachyons, I tell you. I can't wait.
Reverse the polarity.
Yes. The phase containment's failing.
Everything's fine.
All power to the engines.
I've given it all she got.
I was going to say we need a Scotty.
I cannot do it, Captain.
I cannot do it,
Captain. I cannot do it.
And with that, we'll hop over to Mal. Oh, hi.
Hi, I'm Mal. I don't even know what to say. I play Reese Blackash. He's a quiet, sad-ish boy with a big wolf, and once again, he's been thrown into chaos, surrounded by these people.
You've been with us, what, 4 days?
A week? Not even a week?
It's like a week, isn't it? Yeah.
You got a nice breakfast out of it, so you'll be fine. Let's hop over to the very lovely Sarah. Oh, hi.
Hey guys, I am so excited to be here, and I can't wait to jump into the story. I play Florence Fetlock. She is a postal delivery service worker for the city of Karnan, and also someone who makes deliveries for folks who have passed on to the next stage of existence, who might not be able to kind of make deliveries themselves. We're gonna figure out what's going on with the ship.
Awesome, thank you. And we're going to jump straight in. And as we last saw, up on deck, Holher sort of almost threw herself over the edge to have a look at what was going on. We had Florence trying to deal with the air sickness whilst midair, and we had Reese, Tolan, Averick, and Tuva all down in the engine room as this airship started to drop out of the sky. And there seems to be a panic going about as all the engines are failing and all of the ships around you are also dropping out of the sky, when something has started to emerge from the water itself. And I will say, Paula, you're leaning over the side of this rail as you threw yourself over to look, and you can see like how white your knuckles are going with how tight you're having to grip this railing to look over, and Elizabeth is almost doing exactly the same. You can feel that very strong breeze sort of whipping your hair about your face. And you can hear Elizabeth gasp for a moment as she too looks over the edge of this ship. And the waves start to break. It's like the ocean starts to part as this huge mass starts to leave the water. You can almost hear it like a tidal wave, sort of rushing water coming up from below. This sort of grayish blue mottled surface as this dome rises higher and higher out of the water. And you look down on this huge mass, and as you look down, it turns up and looks back at you. And there's a moment where you freeze and you recognize, or at least have a familiarity of the eye that stared back through the season tree when the door opened. What are you doing, Paula? As Elizabeth pushes away from the railing and starts to yell orders.
When Paula sees the eye looking at her from the ocean, she'd throw herself back off the railing, her hair like whipping from the wind, and might even like trip and fall back, but like catch herself and pull herself up, and yell to Florence, there's something in the water.
Oh god. Yeah, I can deal with another thing right now. And she's like doubled over, I think, on the surface of the airship, and at the cry, she, I think, maybe crawls forward, sort of on her hands and knees, maybe not trusting herself to stay steady as this thing lurches from side to side, and she'll peek over the edge for the first time as well.
And as you do, you look over into this face, and you see these two huge hands that start to rise up out of the water, these shoulders, as this huge sort of gigantic shape emerges, these blinking eyes looking towards the ship. You can see over on the other ships in the sky, as some of them are dropping, platforms are leaving these other airships. They seem to have their own sort of wing-like things as they're evacuating people from these ships. You can see individual personal ones, and you can see much larger ones carrying people out of the way as they detach from the ship. And then you can hear that rushing of water as that hand comes up higher and higher, as if it is reaching to one of the other airships over the other side opposite. And as you look and you stand there with Paula, this huge hand wraps around this now seemingly delicate structure and just crushes it between its fingertips, as you see this debris just start to fall out of the sky. And you can see almost like this surge, like there's a wave of energy, and the other ships just start dropping as the energy goes.
Oh, fuck. Oh, sorry.
I mean, that can be in character. It's fine.
Yeah, Paula definitely, as like the ship is exploding in the fist of this creature, Paula whispers under her breath profanities.
Florence, I think she reaches forward and she's gripping at one of those rails, and she almost like feels the wind sucked out of her as it's sucked out of one of these airships, and she will look back to Liz and try to tune in to what she's saying. Are any of the commands anything that maybe she could be helpful with?
You sort of try and gather your thoughts. You can hear Paula close sort of next to you, and you for a moment hear like a pang, almost like a dwayong, as some of the cords on the airship start to break. Those things attaching the sails start to snap, and you suddenly feel the ship lurch to the side, almost bringing you not upright, but closer to the side as this giant raises up, and this hand starts coming and turning and reaching towards your ship. And behind you, you can hear Elizabeth screaming. And she is not screaming out of fear, she is yelling orders. She is almost walking very calmly amongst everyone on board, snapping them into action. As you see Elizabeth Cartwright stand, walk straight up beside you, and looks to you and Paula. Decide what you're going to do, and do it. And then she turns to this line of people. Valadrians, arm yourselves. And you see this line of people starting to gather. You see people in uniform, you see people who aren't in uniform, you see soldiers, magic users take these lines, sort of all sort of manner of Inarque, birds and beast and flurry of color as they rush to the edge to try and line up and ready themselves for whatever is about to hit. What would you like to do?
I think Florence, without another thought, she'll think maybe there's something here that others can't see that maybe I can. Maybe there's something I can do to fix this, to keep the next airship from being literally grabbed out of the sky. And she'll breathe out, and then her eyes will flash gold, and she'll look, kind of seeing through to that next plane where folks who have supposedly passed on are, but maybe it's been acting in ways she hasn't expected these last couple of days. And she's just like grasping for anything, because this is kind of the one thing she knows how to do.
Okay, could you roll me an intellect check, please?
I will do that at advantage.
Okay. Look towards this thing. And first of all, you can see these ships falling out of the sky. And then you can see as the debris hits, or even as they're crushed, for a moment you see those souls almost like leaves start to fall down through the sky. And the strange thing is to you is that this huge creature seems to emit this same almost like feeling as these souls do. But you know it's not a soul. There's something about this, almost like a magic about this thing. And you can see these souls sort of almost dropping from the sky seem to be drawn towards this thing. Paula, what are you doing?
Paula, at first she takes a second to accept that she could very well die here, and that this could be the end, but she hears Liz shouting orders towards the Valadrians, telling them to prepare to fight. And Paula, who's always kind of looked at Liz, over the past however long she's known Liz for a couple of days, has kind of looked at Liz with this feeling of awe, and watching Liz, with her bravery, commanding orders, inspires her. So she pulls herself up after kind of stumbling over when she saw this giant and watching the giant crushing these airships, and begins trying to formulate a plan with the knowledge, thinking, I don't have magic. I don't know how to fire a gun. What can I do? What do I know how to do? And Paula, she knows not much more than how to run and how to dance. And so I think Paula's gonna look towards the sails where the ropes have snapped and see if there's any kind of loose rope that might be either can be like fashioned into some kind of lasso or some kind of something that she can swing from. Or
you can absolutely find something, but whether it's to tie yourself to something or whether to use it as a thing, you can see where some of the smaller sails, because all the smaller sails are on the top deck, have just come apart. These ones are more for show, so it's rope. It's not like raw tying cable like the ones at the twang that you heard on the lower levels. But you can certainly sort of run to the side, and as you do, you run to the side to reach that rope. And that's when you see this thing as if it's standing up fully to start and have a look at this airship that you're on, as you almost come face to face with it as you pull this rope off. And you can see Florence to the side of you, sort of almost as if she's not fully there, but her eyes are blazing gold. And I will tell you this, because Florence can't see it, but from your perspective, you probably will. Florence needs to move.
Okay. Is there like something that's like coming crashing towards her, or?
If anything, in fact, roll me an intellect, please.
I'm gonna use an advantage.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You sort of analyze the situation. You're wrapping this rope around your arm so that you can gather it up. And there's a moment where you look and you can see Florence is so focused on something out there in the sky that she doesn't seem to realize that by doing what she's doing, it seems to have actually attracted the view of this thing. And it is turning to look directly towards her.
And I'll shout as Paula runs at Florence, ready to tackle her down. Paula shouts, "Florence, whatever you're doing, you have to stop!" And she'll dive to tackle Florence to the ground.
And you run. And you go to tackle Florence to the ground. But now we're going to head over to the others, down in this engine room. And there is this, down here is Tuva trying to keep this like shield up as she's trying to keep this heat away from the engineers. You, Tolan, Reese, and Averick. There's this sort of yell you can hear in the clatter of footsteps on iron steps as they come running down, as a few soldiers head down with these fireplaces as you requested. You can see them in uniform as they start piling them into the room towards you.
So Tolan starts to grab them and working with Averick, just looking at Averick, just do what I do. And it pulls some of the tools out of his bag. He's like, here, and points as he's sort of just trying to like break it apart to get these phase containment units that he saw up there before and was kind of joking about that they were using to contain fire to try to somehow store some energy off of this overloading engine to then sort of jump start it when it loses power.
Okay, okay, we can do that. We can do that. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah. And there, and as soon as he gets one's done, he basically hands what looks like just a giant sort of cable, and just goes, Reese, just shove it in there. Just make sure it's metal to metal contact on something in there. It'll take. Trust me, it will spark.
Okay.
Okay. And Reese, there's that moment as you do as you're told, and as you shove this cable to where you're supposed to put it, and there is a moment where you all have to shield your eyes as this sparks sort of fill this room. You can feel the heat on your fingertips. Reese, it's almost like embers when they sort of prickle the back of your hand when it spits from a fire, but it is in, and there's suddenly almost like a lurch and a whir, and the engine isn't fully back on, but there seems to be almost like it's chugging, like it's really trying to do it, and the heat gets very intense, but it starts to almost become more controlled. I do now need you all to roll a might, as you hear very loudly these twangs from the side of the ship, as if they're coming from the sides. The big cables that hold these huge sails on this airship, and the altitude drops again.
Is this like might defense or just a might?
Just a might, strap might. It's sort of like
Okay.
You're not going to get hit by anything. It's more how you go.
It's a 7 for me.
Okay.
Ooh.
Ooh. Reese, as you're not expecting it, you're too busy focused on this, and you get thrown from one side of the engine room to the other, almost taking out the other engineer with you. Tolan, you fall, but you effectively fall into the engine, and you have Averick sort of grabbing you for a moment to keep you upright as he's holding onto one of the bars, as you feel the ship start to creak and turn up on its side. And then
Please tell me those weren't the sail cables.
What?
You feel pretty like your ears are ringing right now, Reese, and you can all hear this clutter and this bang. It's very loud in here as everything is starting to whir. And then there's this moment where you all look at each other as you hear those twangs again, and the whole ship starts to turn fully on its side. And that engineer looks to you. That's the sails breaking. That's if they go, we're dropping out of the sky like a rock. Someone needs to go and attach them.
I'm on it.
And Tuva sort of jumps up for a moment. She's like, I can do that. You just gotta tell me where to go. And
yes.
This engineer is like, whoa. There is debris flying everywhere, and looks to Reese. You can't let her just go out there. And you can see her sort of puff up her little chest, puts her hands sort of on her hips, and she's like, look, with Brenna, I can do it. I can do the thing. And you see like her hands sort of vibrate with those shields. And it's like, we can reattach them, right? And she looks to you, Reese. She's like, I can keep us safe out there.
We can do it.
Okay.
I look to Reese quickly and just go, outside is closer to the lifeboats. Take her and get her safe if it's looking dire. Go.
Stay safe.
Tuva turns round, sort of looks to you, Tolan and Averick, is like, see you in a bit, and starts running down the corridor. And Astrid is right by your side, Reese, as you both sprint. And you find yourself running through this corridor and almost running on the wall opposite because of how the ship is starting to turn. You're actually having to jump over light fixtures and where doors were as you run. And there's a moment where the ship lurches again and you feel your stomach drop. I need you to roll a speed check, please, to not get thrown somewhere.
I'm gonna spend an effort this time and hope it goes better than last time. Oh, are you gonna go through roll 20?
It's trying.
Come on, roll 20. I clicked it.
It's struggling a bit today. There we go. Worth it.
Sweet.
Okay, describe to me how you managed to keep your balance and you managed to keep hold of Tuva as well. So she doesn't fall.
So I'm assuming like everything just falls because we dropped.
You dropped. You sort of almost like you're now turning on its side. So if anything, where the walkway was, it's now your right hand side.
Oh geez, I think somehow there's like that split second of realization that Reese has right before this happens, and so he grabs Tuva in one hand and grabs the walkway in the other hand, and he's Captain Americaing that helicopter.
Yeah. Thank you, Video Avenue, for a advantage to Reese. Thank you very much. You managed to, you see Tuva almost like as the ship tips, you see her feet go to leave the floor, and you grab the back of that denim jacket as she sort of half hangs there, and you run. You can see Astrid almost jumping off the sides of the walls to try and keep some sort of balance going as you start tearing towards the balconies. You can see where the balconies are. They're now beneath you, and you're gonna have to go through one of the doors, climb down to get down there and onto the balcony. Could you roll me a might, please? Unless you have the climbing skill, because I know that's... I don't know if anyone has.
I don't think I have climbing specifically. I forget how to open up the skills to look at them again, because they collapse.
I think that's when you specifically would show up as a top level.
Normally it would come up as your skill thing, so I don't think you have it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh no, I do. I totally have climbing. There it is. Skills might. Sweet. I'm gonna spend effort anyway.
Go for it.
7.
Okay. You sort of have to lower yourself down through this normal upright open doorway, and part of the doorway sort of cracks and snaps, and you fall for a moment, dragging Tuva with you as you slide down the side of this. You go past this bed that is now upright, and everything else in this room has slid down to the side, and you stop on the glass of this balcony, and you can see where all the wires have detached, and you can see where they need to be hooked in. You can see a guard out there clinging on. He's tied himself to the side of this railing. He's pulling himself along, trying to reattach these sails as you see them flapping wildly in the wind. What would you like to do?
Can I tie Tuva to the ship much like that guard has tied himself?
Do you have any rope? There are bed sheets around, there are other things, but you will need to roll to make sure you can do it.
I do totally have rope in my explorer pack. I've been out and about on my own a while. I was about to be like, I don't know that I have specifically written it down, but I feel like Reese is the type of person to have rope. But here's the thing. As I was thinking, I was going to argue for having rope regardless. I'm looking at my thing and it's written down. I literally have rope.
You have rope.
I will tie Tuva to the boat.
You're tying Tuva to the boat. Okay, you start to secure her. Whereabouts are you securing her? Because you're currently on the glass, almost like big glass doors that look out onto the balcony. This guard gives you a very surprised look as you seem to come skidding down towards him.
You know what? For now, because I don't know where we're going to be going, I will tie her to me.
Okay, you can secure to you. She's looking at you. She sort of has her arms up to let you tie her to you. And she looks at you. She's like, okay, before we go out, and you can see these wires sort of flaying everywhere. These are dangerous. That one of them sort of twangs out and carves through part of the ship as they sort of just splinters the wood down the side. Like, okay, I'm gonna keep this up as much as possible, okay? And she starts like flickering her hands, and you can see almost like this sphere start to appear around you, her, and Astrid, as she creates almost like this bubble, almost like this orb around you, and you can see this strange sort of shimmer around it. She really focuses, and she's like, this is gonna be really hard to hold, so I'm not gonna be able to reattach anything. Every time we take a hit, it's gonna lessen the shield.
I think Reese just reaches over and puts his hand like on her head and gives it just the lightest ruffle, and he's like, we got this. We can do this. He's trying, like, as a player, I'm very nervous. I think Reese is also very nervous, but he's like, gotta be strong for the child. So he's very calm.
Yeah. Okay. We got this. And she's like, you see her for a moment sort of look down, look out again. What would Charlie do? And then she sort of has a moment where her hands pulse, and you feel like this energy sort of smash the window in front of you, and this sort of protective orb comes out around you, and you are on the deck, and you can feel that rushing wind. You can feel those, you feel what seems to be sea spray coming up, and there's a moment where you look out, and this guard points as this huge mass is rising up out of the water. Tolan, you are down in the engine room. You are down in the engine room. What are you doing right now?
At this point, so now I'm assuming the whole engine room is now rotated 90 degrees, yeah?
It seems to be kicking in a bit. Not working, but it looks like it's starting.
Is there any other way to right the ship without the sails? We have to think. We have to come up with something. What are we on? Plan F?
It's like, hang on. And you can see this engineer is almost having a bit of he's rushing around, he's pulling loads of levers, he's doing lots of things to try and get this engine going, like giving it a boost. And he's like, hang on. We've used the backup. I think we have a generator somewhere. It's an old one, it doesn't actually work, but if we can plug it in effectively into this one, we can maybe give it a boost, but we're gonna have to go down 3 levels. Someone's gonna need to be up. I can stay up here and feed it through, but I'm gonna need someone else to go down and start it.
If it's a generator and it's broken, that's kind of what I do these days. I'll go.
Okay, right. You're going to want to go down 2 flights of steps, and then you're going to go down the last ladder on the left, and you're going to want to hook the first left. You'll see it there. You'll recognize it. And Averick looks to you. He's like,
I'm assuming there's going to have to be a cable or something that you'll need to run back up.
Yeah,
yes?
And you see him just run through, and he kicks a hole in the. You can see where there's an opening in the floor. It looks like purpose-built, and it looks like it's been jammed, and he just starts kicking it to try and open it. It's like, I'll get this open, and you feed it up through here.
No one goes.
Okay. And Averick sort of looks to you. It's like, are we really doing this?
Yeah. Well, the alternative kind of sucks.
That's very true. And anyway, look, think about this. Like old times. And he starts running down that first set.
Old times were never like this.
As he sprints down these first set of stairs towards the next level.
Poland's right behind him, running down as well.
I need you to roll a speed or a might to try and keep your balance as this ship drops and lurches again.
It's not the same. I'll go speed.
Okay.
And I just don't think there's any way that Tolan would have advantage on this, so I'm going to just stick with the dice. 16.
Apparently, adrenaline kicks in. Describe how you're doing it as the ship starts to turn. How do you keep your balance? You see Averick running. There's a moment weirdly agile, even Clyde is, which is bizarre to you. It looks almost odd as you see him almost sort of holding on to things and pulling himself along as he runs to stay upright.
So I think Tolan just literally follows exactly what he does as best as he can. That this isn't something that, it's not things that he would normally do, but sort of all but following his lead of him grabbing onto a sconce one way, foot over here on a cabinet now on its side, going across this door. That literally, it's almost, way back in their seeking days, often Tolan would be like, just step everywhere I step. He's now doing that behind Averick, of stepping on each place, holding on to each sconce, swinging from each, rail that's in the sides of the hallway, as this whole hallway sort of rotating around them, and they're making their way down as it sort of is turning and tumbling.
You have a moment where you keep going and you're running up, and you realize that the down set of ladders, it's almost as if you're climbing up as this starts to go off on the side. And Averick leads the way again, you following the entire way. And there's a moment again where Averick pauses as there's another drop, as the stomach lurches again, and you can hear from somewhere the splintering of wood and the yells of people that seem to almost have like an aggressive charge to their voice. And there's a moment as you get lower and lower, you see one of the glass decks out from the side, and you look out and you see these ships dropping from the sky, some of them crumpled and debris. You see the sail just sort of drifts down past the window you're at, and for a moment, as that thick canvas moves, you see what's outside the window.
Dear gods, what is that?
And
is it that? It can't be. Oh God. They found another way. It's what was coming through the season tree. They found another way.
And Averick pauses. You can see the shock on his face. Like, it's rude to stare, and we've got to be somewhere. And he sort of pulls your leg and starts to get you to get moving again, as he starts to climb up and up. And then there's another moment where I need you to roll another speed again, as the boat seems to start to flip back the other way.
13.
There is a moment where you are flung to the other side, but because you're in such a narrow corridor, you're able to stabilize yourself. And you're opposite Averick, as he's managed to stabilize himself as well. Keep moving. And you can see him hurrying now back down this ladder.
Tolan follows and sort of is keeping an eye on, a close eye on Averick and Clyde as they go in front of him again to follow them. But I think also, just as his eye has always been close, sort of closely, just keeping an eye, making sure, seeing what's going on with Averick, and especially with his leg and these magic blackouts, that he's not going to suddenly have something happen where the leg goes dead on him and he's going to have, need a quick rescue.
Roll an intellect for me, please, if you're keeping an eye.
This I am going to use an advantage on, because I think this is something that, even if it would make other things more, almost that using his focus piece, which might raise the difficulty of some of his physical things later, because he would be concerned. So using focus, that gives me a asset, and I'm not going to spin because my intellect pool is getting low, but I am going to use an advantage. 13 and a 6. Whew.
Okay.
Oops. Yeah, the first.
Yeah, no, it took a while to load for some reason. You are looking at Averick, and he is moving probably with more vigor than you've seen him move in a long, long time. The only thing I will say is, because you can see his leg, where the sort of the cuff of his trousers doesn't quite meet the boot, you can see it not sparking, but it's like it's flashing. And the only time you've seen it do it before is when the Guardians walked past those lights and they started to almost overpower and overreact.
That's what he was worried about. Okay. he's going to keep an eye on that. So if it raises my other physical tasks at a difficulty level, because he's going to be thinking of that.
Okay.
That's where his focus is.
You can see Clyde, it's almost like he is galloping down this space with you, but his paws aren't really touching the floor. This is the first time you've seen him in a long time go incorporeal, as he's just become this sort of gray shape, grayish silver color as he's running after Averick. And you reach the bottom, you reach that corridor, and it's almost like it's just at a slight angle, it's not fully over. And you can see at the other end of the far left of the room, you can see that ladder that goes down, which Averick continues to sprint towards.
Right behind him, yep. Just getting down there and just sort of mentally trying to figure out if they've got to drag a cable back up this path, of what that's going to be like and how they're going to do it.
Mm. And you sort of, you can head down there, and almost right in front of you, you can see that generator room. You can see that it needs painting. This has not been touched in a long time, but the door is shut.
It's like, the ladrons. The generator's kept in this state, and the rest,
Not now! And Averick starts running towards this door, and it doesn't seem to be open. He's sort of rattling on the door to try and get it open, and he's throwing himself against it, but it doesn't seem to open.
Oh golly. Oh man, I would love to tinker it open, but the reality is I think I'm gonna need tinker for later, so I'm gonna use might, see if I can just assist him by throwing myself into it as well.
Okay, roll a might for me, please.
Yeah, I'm not gonna use advantage just because I don't think that, again, Toland's old man. And he is not a shaper anymore. He got a little bit of size back, but in the last finale, but yeah. Ooh, 3.
Yeah, there's a moment where you're sat there and you're both thumping sort of at the same time, and he's just like, okay, wait, hang on, we're gonna how are we gonna get in here? And he starts like banging again, and this door does not seem to be opening. And we are gonna head back over to Florence and Paula. As Paula, you run, diving towards Florence, and Florence, you almost snap out as you feel this huge sort of like this pressure in your side as Paula dives into you, sending you crashing down, as this hand comes down and crashes into the deck exactly where you were. This wood splintering, all of this sort of chaos as the ship starts to tip as it drags its hand across the deck. And this thing is huge. This is almost like it's the top of its fingertips that has come onto the deck of this ship, and you can see it go through at least 3 levels of this ship. And you and Paula are there on this bit of sort of deck that is now split, and you're both sliding downwards. What would you both like to do?
Paula will prepare the rope to try to sling it onto anything she can as they're sliding down the side of this thing, to try to like grab hold of something.
Yeah, roll me a speed, please.
Can I potentially use careful movement?
Yeah,
No.
go on then. No, yeah, because if you're trying to aim to put this on something, to attach it to something as you're moving, I'll say that's careful movement.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
No,
how are you attaching this? And you have got, I'll say you've got hold of Florence because you effectively rugby tackled her, so.
Yeah, I guess as we slide towards the rail of the ship, Paula will yell towards Florence, "Florence, grab onto me!" And
Don't have to say it twice.
and we'll kind of hold the rope out between her two hands like this, and as she sees like the pole coming up, try to how would she even go about? I'm trying to think like mechanically how that would work. Like I guess she would kind of like let go of the rope and like very quickly try to like reach around and then
I'd say
grab
you
back
could
onto
definitely
it.
hold one in each and sort of like flip it over at the same time.
Yeah.
Grab it, but you are it's literally relying on Florence holding on to you because you are hanging so that you don't slip down the side of this plank. And as you manage to wrap this this rope around your wrists, as you manage to not pull yourself up, but you stop yourself from slipping. And Florence, you are literally clinging on probably to around Paula's waist as you are laying a bit further. And that is when you look down and you both feel the ship start to tip more and more, and you start to slide towards the edge of the ship itself, past the railing. You can hear Elizabeth yell, "Now!" And then her hand goes down as you see her stand there with her this sort of white coat and red hair, is almost a contrast as it, stands against this wind. She almost stands upright against everything else that is tipping on its side. And then there is a flurry of color as all of these Inarquay and these humans and guards start to charge towards this hand that seems to have a grip on the side of this ship. You can see this mixture of fire, water, this energy that is released from all of these people as all of these colors sort of shoot through the air towards this thing. You can hear gunfire going off from the guards, and these spears that seem to become almost like beams of light start being thrown by the guards towards this huge creature emerging from the water. And just for a brief moment, there is that flurry of fiery wings and blue hair that runs towards the edge of the deck and jumps off the side towards this thing. There is a moment where you're taking all of this in, but you realize you are slipping towards the edge of the ship as it fully starts to turn upright on its side.
And when Paula sees the blue, and as she feels her and Florence slipping towards the edge of this rail, she'd shout for Matthias, like really like frantically.
Okay, and is Florence doing anything as this happens, or is Florence literally clinging onto Paula for dear life?
She is like full on arms around Paula's torso. I think her legs are also locked around Paula's, probably like her thigh or knee area, and she's just like right up in there. And she starts off screaming, but then catches herself a bit and is I think feeling her heart dropping out of her chest as she's thinking about all of the souls she's seen go somewhere and be drawn into this thing, and she starts looking to Paula and just shouting, "Why is this thing attacking us? We didn't harm it. Why is this happening?"
You think I know? As Paula's kicking off her kitten heels.
Yeah, you manage that you're sort of flicking your shoes off at the bottom, like to get rid of them, because you know they're going to probably hinder you, if anything. You can see those, you see Matthias sort of shoot up in the air at one point and then back down, along with someone else who is doing something very, very similar, but they look almost metallic at this point. And you look over as you all start to sort of slip towards the edge of this ship. And Florence, as you notice as each spell is cast, that flurry of magic is in the air, and it too is being drawn towards the creature as if it is being attracted to it. Not the actual Inarquay, almost like the residue is running straight towards it. And there's a moment where You feel it first, Florence. You feel your body leave the ship. And then Paula, you sort of look down for a moment as you feel your feet go, and you watch your kitten heels just tumble through the sky down towards the water as the ship lurches again. I need you both to roll a might to hold on.
I will also do this at advantage.
Yeah, this is going to be an advantage situation.
This is the time.
So that goes for me as well. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Holla. Your shoes sort of fall off and you feel yourself. You can feel your grip slipping and you're readjusting. But you can feel Florence slipping. And there's a moment where you can look down, and Florence, you can look back up at Paula. And it's just like, you know, and your grip goes. And you start to fall. And you leave that airship, and there's a moment where it is rushing. You are rushing through the wind sort of past you as this, you sort of tumble and you sort of swirl around. It's almost like your body has no control as it starts to get almost like wrapped up in this whirlwind of air and this chaos that is going on around you. You look up and you can see Matthias, but he doesn't seem to have seen you as you continue to plummet down. Can you make a might check for me a moment, please?
Yeah.
Or a speed, I will let you choose.
We're gonna do might with effort. Okay. Let's do this. Oh, much better roll. I don't know what it's for.
You come rushing and tumbling down, and you almost, for that one moment, you can see below you this almost small individual platform with wings, one of the escape sort of ship pods. It's almost like, I guess, a surfboard with like wings, and there's someone directing it, and a hand goes out to you. And as that minute as you go past, you feel this as you manage to catch this wrist, and this wrist firmly locks back onto you. And you see these sort of these large arms wrapped in material and beads and things like that, as this whole thing leaks to the side as it gets thrown to the side. You're almost vertical, and you're looking back at Rika, who isn't looking at you at all, but she is maintaining forwards, as there is a moment where you've dropped so far down towards the ocean that where she's had to tip it to catch you, the wings are currently gliding along the edge of this water, creating a stream around this huge giant that has emerged out of the water. Paula, what are you doing? You've just seen Florence fall. You have not seen her get caught.
When she feels Florence slip off, she almost like inhaled, like no, but like almost like on like an inhale, like she's like choking on her own word, because just like the fear, and before she even gets to see that Florence was rescued, Paula looks up and away because she doesn't want to see, and she wants to focus on surviving, and she's gonna try to muster up any like body strength she has to pull herself from this rope, like up, like do a pull up and climb onto this this railing.
Thank you for all of these. Yes, can you roll me a might, please? As you sort of flip yourself around, trying to pull yourself back up with this rope.
Right. Oh crap. Okay.
One of your hands slips, one of them doesn't. But because you are holding onto either side, you start to run down the side of this plank and this platform towards the edge, and your feet in their tights catch on the railing, and you are literally balancing on the edge of the railing as this happens. You can see Matthias sort of shoot past. He seems to almost become this whirlwind of fire as he's almost like attacking with the rest of this crew.
Paula will let out another desperate scream for Matthias, and we'll try to carefully like throw her rope back up to get herself like at least into the position she was in before, where she was hanging onto the railing with the rope.
Okay, you start to try and swing it up, and you call out for Matthias. And we're gonna head back to Reese. Reese, you're out on this platform. You're out on this balcony. You can see these things. You hear that doing, like it's sort of like this metal sort of coming apart as all these. It's almost like you can barely see what you're doing because of all of this flurry of these huge canvas sails, but you can see this huge figure, this almost giantess creature emerging out of the water.
Do I see any of all of that just happened with Florence and Paula and everything from where I am?
You probably wouldn't from where you are.
Okay.
From the angle you're at. Plus, you're almost very focused because of the actual wall that is around you at the time. The sails are making it difficult to see. This is just a really big ass creature that's come out of the water, so you can see
it. He probably. He's like, yep. I know what this is. I think, but he will just. It's got to go over here for now. That's a later problem. There's things to be done. So I think what he would do is he would get on Astrid and he would put Tuva between him and Astrid. That way he's got both hands roughly free to do this. Astrid can get them to the things, hopefully, and that way Tuva's between the two of them with the bubble around the group of them.
Okay. So are you trying to reattach some of these wires?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to need you to make 2 checks first of all. I need you to make a speed to catch them, and I need you to make a might to reattach.
Okay. We're going to go crazy because it's the finale. I'm going to do these both with effort and advantage.
You'll get the same because it's advantage. You always get this one. It's advantage.
14 for speed. 13.
I told you every time.
Yep, every time.
Okay, so you start to you climb onto Astrid, and you can see her almost lower these huge sort of legs and paws. Her snout sort of goes up, and she starts to charge around this balcony, getting you to the places. You can reach out, and as she does, you feel like that pulse as you jump and reach to get this cable. This huge piece of debris and this other wire cable comes swinging your way, and it stops about here, almost as if it hits that barrier. And you see Tuva wince, but there's a moment where you can see it just roll off almost the side of the shield, and you can head towards the first lock. And as you do, you start to fix this lock to the side of the ship. This other guard is looking at you slightly bewildered, but again, tying himself up and fixing the other shots. Could you do one more speed and might again, please, as one of the other sails is loose?
Yep. We're gonna do we're gonna do my last advantage on the speed, and they're still both gonna have effort.
Okay.
15.
Yeah.
7.
Oh, okay. You get there, you manage again that you can see this splintering wood seems to be almost raining from above, almost like rain on top of an umbrella is hitting the tops of the shield as you run and you manage to catch this cable. And as you do, the latch itself you're trying to fix it to seems to be broken, and you're trying to fix it to it somehow, but it doesn't seem to be working. And it almost gives you that moment of distraction as you sort of try and tie it up, and you can feel Tuva's little hand on your shoulder patting you.
Yeah.
And you see a little hand point forward over the deck. And as you look up, this huge face, not almost a foot away from you, this grey-blue mottled skin, this glowing patterns all over the face and down the shoulders. And these eyes blink at you. And I'm going to do something I've not done in this campaign yet. I want you to roll an intellect check with disadvantage, please.
Okay. 14!
You sit there, and there's a moment where you lock eyes with this creature. And there's like a flash of light for a moment. And the screams you can hear around you, that shattering of wood, the splintering, almost becomes muffled as you freeze. Almost as if you feel paralyzed, like you can't move. And there's a moment where you feel so cold, like you're stood in snow, and you can hear somewhere that song that Astrid sings, the one she sung that day. As this eye blinks at you for a moment, for a moment, all you see around you is white. Like it's just a blanket of snow everywhere. You're not on the ship anymore. You're in the middle of the stone circle. There is this overwhelming sort of pain in your side and in your leg where you got hit. And the stones around you start to glow. And you can feel that snow blizzard hitting you over and over again. You can hear that crunch, that crack, that break of the stone as this giant blinks again and looks straight into you, not just at you, it looks into you. And you feel a bizarre pull, like it's trying to pull something out of you rather than pull your physical self. And somewhere, you hear that familiar voice scream your name. It's as Astrid starts screaming, "Reese! Reese!" as you can hear it over this blizzard. And you listen again and again, and you realize it's not Astrid. As Tuva is screaming and shaking you. And suddenly you realize her shield goes. And this massive cable comes swinging into both of you. I need you to roll a might, please.
Six.
This comes crashing into the side of you. It hits you, it hits Tuva, and it hits Astrid. And there's a moment of where you see Astrid get flung and crashes into the wall at the other side of you. It just sort of flops down. You can see her trying to push herself back up as this sort of these jaws and these teeth sort of snarl towards this creature. You yourself get thrown almost back into the room. You crash through that glass, and
I would make sure to hold on to her if I can.
On a 2, I'm afraid you can't. As Tuva gets flung in the opposite direction, and you see her and Brenna and what looks to be this tiny little tail peeking out from like a pocket of her denim jacket, clinging onto the side of the railing, and this huge hand comes crashing down, and there is a splinter of wood, and it's almost like the ship is nearly ripped in two. We're going to head back to Tolan and Averick. You are both heading towards the generator room.
Mm-hmm.
Averick is running in, and you can see that this door is just not budging. He's like, what do we do? What do we do? I can fix things. I don't know how to break things. What do we do?
Tolan just angry, and it's when he says break things. I can break things. Pulls out the gun and shoots the lock.
Yeah, I'll let you have that.
I mean, the problem is that means that his shot's gone.
Yeah. You can pull out this gun, and you Averick's like, where did you get? And then you just let this sort of go off, and the lock bursts, and the door just swings open with the gravity of the tipping ship.
You didn't bring yours? I gave you one
I didn't think you actually wanted me to use it. It's in
on
the
a
room.
door. I used it on the door. We have a generator to get started.
Oh my gosh. And he sort of like just heads straight in the room. You can head in the room, and it is a standard generator. Tolan would have seen these before. It looks an absolute mess in here. There are cables and wires everywhere hanging from the ceiling. This looks like this has been broken from whatever has hit the ship. You can see panels that have swung open, and that's sort of those sparks and static all over the place.
I it's gonna get me low, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna spend my 3 points of intellect to use improvise to try to get this thing, use what's in the room and what's been, just take this jumble of stuff. I mean, this is what Tolan lives for, is to tinker and to improvise and to make something out of nothing. I mean, he's a resourceful seeker who makes something out of nothing. This is literally his focus. So I'm going to spend those points, and I'm gonna dump an effort on top of it too, because this I want Tolan to hopefully get this. So that's an asset, that's an effort. And heck, since we had a train, I'm going to use an advantage because this is one I want. This is his thing. So Tinkerer on intellect. Okay, buddy. 5, 4. Oh, it's a stressful day.
I'm stressed. Hang on. You sort of, it's almost like you have a blank. Like you've been watching Averick for too long. Like you keep getting distracted as you see his leg flickering, and you do notice with it that Clyde is flickering. And there's a moment where you're looking around the room, and it's not that you can't see anything, it's like your brain runs a blank. You look at all these wires, and it's almost like it's an overload. Like there's too much information here that you're reaching through it to try and find something, when you feel the ship suddenly tip again and lurch. And down in this, you can see this window as the ocean starts to get closer.
I'm not sure if we're going to actually need to get this engine started as much as we're going to need to learn how to make this ship float.
Well, we can fix it. This is what you do. This is what I'm supposed to be able to do. We can do it. It's not a phone. This is your thing.
Can I give it another try just with a flat tinker?
Do it. The dice tells a story.
he's gonna try again. Actually, throw one of your disadvantages at me.
I throw a disadvantage at you.
Okay. Can you pull it together? Can you pull it together, Tolan? 11 and a 5. He can't pull it together. That water's coming up too fast. The leg's flickering. Clyde is flickering. Everything is going wrong.
And there's a moment where Averick looks at you. You look at the water rushing up. It's not there yet, but you look at it, and Averick looks at you in the eyes. He's like, I don't know what to do.
I'm sorry. I'm told you. I'm not cut out for this anymore.
And I think that's where we'll take our break. We'll take it there, because I need a drink.
I'm going to get something a little stronger for the second half.
Wish I had something a little stronger. Otherwise, yes, everyone, go get a drink, stretch, do whatever you want. Go and tell your pets you love them. Otherwise, we'll be back in just a moment. Bye. Hi. Back on top of the deck, Holla, as you're trying to sort of swing this additional bit of rope round, trying to gain some sort of traction, you see this, you feel that heat as this huge set of wings and that blazing blue hair lands sort of next to you, almost holding onto the rope at the same time. You can see Sophia, this sort of blue, almost shining bright white now, as it swirls around him and looks to you. And he's got half a smile on his face. You can see what looks to be like just a cut on the side of his cheek, and he's just like, I heard you calling my name and I had to come.
Yep, you're always there just when I need you.
Okay.
All right, now get me up.
Yeah, and he sort of like, he holds out his hand to you and pulls you forward, and he sort of wraps one arm around you and tries to push off the side of this boat. And he sort of pushes up into the air for a moment, and you feel the heat from these wings as you've done it like once before, as you sort of take off into the sky. You can see, as you get higher and higher, almost the debris that is just falling out of the sky. It's almost just like a rain of splinters and wood everywhere. You can see the sea rushing up to the ships, and this huge, gigantic creature just moves as if it's wading up to its waist as it moves. And it seems to be getting taller and taller, getting higher and higher as it goes. And there's a moment where Matthias has to bob and weave as these things dropping out of the air and through the sky. And he's like, look, I'm going to have to put you down somewhere. I can't leave you up here and still navigate us. And you can see he's looking around for something. Could you roll an intellect check for me, please, Paula?
Yes, I can. Would this be a perception situation?
It is a perception situation.
I'm gonna advantage this.
Yes. You sort of scatter the sky. You can see that he's not able to look. He's trying to look around, but every now and then you feel yourself being thrown almost to the side as these huge bits of wood, these bits of ship come crashing down past you. And there's this sort of moment as you look around at everything, and down, almost skimming by the water, getting a little bit higher, you can see Florence on a whatever that is, with whoever that is, a very, very tall, fairly sort of square woman, you're pretty sure, as you see them skimming and they're going up and they seem stable.
Down there, Florence, bring me to Florence.
And he's like, okay, I've got you. And there's a moment where he starts to dive and weave, and you're going fast. You feel that wind move as he sort of moves in between these things that's starting to fall. And I'm just gonna roll something. Hang on. Where is my D20 gone?
Oh, she's rolling off screen. She's rolling off screen.
You weave through all of this debris, and you can see this sort of grin on his face, and he's just like, we have to stop meeting like this, as he sort of heads you down and takes you down towards Florence. And Florence, you have been heaved onto this thing by Rika, who just looks at you very plainly and keeps driving, doesn't really say anything. But she's like, are you intact?
Yeah, only thanks to you. I cannot tell you how grateful I am that I'm seeing you before landing in Baladris.
She looks at you. Why? And then there's that moment as you see that Blazing Wings and Matthias, thank you, come sort of soaring towards you. And you can see Paula is like, Matthias doesn't drop you, but he's holding your hands and he brings you down. Florence, could you make a speed or a might check to try and catch Paula?
That's going to be a might check. Let's just roll it straight.
There you go. describe how you catch Paula for me. As Matthias comes in, and Paula, you can see Florence like arms out. As Matthias looks to you, he's like, okay, hold on, you'll be absolutely fine.
So I think just like Paula was trying to impress Liz, Florence has just been caught out of the air in miraculous fashion by Rika, and Florence kind of wants to impress Rika. So she just shoots her arm into the sky in the same fashion that Rika had, and is just trying to like clasp Paula. I think she grabs one hand on like one of her ankles as she comes down to like steady her. And then as she's dropping, she'll reach up to grab that hand from Paula and then almost like pull her down as steadily and safely to the deck as possible, all the while shooting Rika like a, did you see me? Did you see?
You manage to reach out and you catch Paula almost like around the back as well, so you can pull her on board. And Paula, Matthias gives you a look. He's like, I'm going to head back up, see if I can help anyone else.
Yeah, do what you gotta do. Florence, you're alive.
Now we're even. You got me, now I got you, and hopefully we don't have to get each other like this ever again.
Well, I'm not so sure that's gonna happen as Paula looks up at this towering giant.
And you can see this Rika on the thing as she turns to look back at both of you. I request you to hold on to something, please. As she sort of pulls up and this machine goes up, as you see this huge leg wade through the water towards you, as she pulls across to try and avoid it. You can see this creature doesn't seem to be getting angry, it seems to be getting agitated as it is now swatting these airships out of the sky. You can see people in the water as they've fallen and crashed down. Some of them are on platforms, these other platforms are going round, these much larger ones trying to hook people out of the water and get them out of the way.
Rika, on any of your troubles, and she's like trying to, like she's wrapping her bare arms around anything that she can. Have you seen anything like this in any of your travels? You've seen quite a bit of the world.
And she looks back. I have only seen them in drawings. And she seems very calm still. Like it's not really much of a difference. But she's like, I have to say, I am feeling very scared right now. You would not be able to tell. I'm just going to say that now.
Florence is just like beaming up at this woman and nodding. And she very clearly is agitated and riled up, and Biddy, her little gold and black bat Anakwe, I think is just fluttering frantically everywhere. Do you think we could talk to it, reason with it? Do you know if they're intelligent? Is there anything we can do? I don't think any of the attacks that the main ship were doing did anything to this creature. I don't think that's how we stop it.
In everything I have seen, they are attackers. They are not peaceful creatures. And she looks down at the crystal around her neck and the one around yours. They seem to be absorbing the souls of others. I think it's feeding it.
Do we run? Do we get out of here? Do we try to save as many people as we can? You're sure we can't go up and talk to it and reason with it?
For now, we get as many people out as possible. There are airships dropping out of the sky. There are families and people in the water.
And we can't reason with this thing.
If you want to try, we can try.
And I think Florence looks over at Paula.
I don't know that it can even hear you. That thing is so big and there's so much going on. Right now, maybe we should just focus on surviving. and making sure everyone else survives.
Okay, Rika, I guess take us around. Maybe we can try to catch more people out of the sky as they fall, but if you see a chance to maybe fly us closer to its head or maybe where it might be able to hear, I'd love to give it a shot, but not if it puts all of us in more danger.
And she looks to you like, can you drive one of these things, or do you want to use this? And she reaches down and pulls out this huge broadsword you saw attached to her back originally.
I would love to see you use that. I think I can figure out flying.
Okay, it's quite simple. You stick the pointy end and I will train you later. And she starts unsheathing this thing and heading towards the edge of this platform. And she looks to Paula. Who are you?
I'm Paula Packer. I'm
she
librarian.
Looks at your hand and reaches out and shakes it, and you feel a very firm grip. Not like an intentional to hurt, but you definitely feel this grip. It's like, you may want to hold on, Miss Packer. And she holds out her arm to the side.
Paula will grip it with both hands
and turns back to Florence. It's like, I need you to fly around there. And she points towards this giant where there are people falling in the water.
And Florence will take the lay of the steering. She hopes that it's as simple as it could possibly be because they're in the type of situation that they are, and she'll do as she's told by Rika. As she takes the helm, she just keeps looking up at where the creature, where its face is, where its ears are, and is starting to weigh whether or not she takes the course.
Okay.
For now, she follows orders.
Okay. Could you make an intellect or speed? I'll let you choose on how to direct this thing.
Let's do intellect, and I'll use one of those advantages.
This is a bit clunky. You haven't been in Valadrikar. You recognize the system, but it's not something that you are normally used to piloting, and you can feel it clunking and moving. You gradually get it fairly smooth, but the altitude seems to be dropping and getting higher and dropping all over the place. There's a moment where you manage to get it up higher and higher, and there's this moment, Paula, where you see this huge giantess thing turn towards you, and it looks down. And again, it seems to be focusing a lot on Florence and now on you.
Can Paula, as it's looking down on Paula, and Paula can get a good look at its face, can Paula check her memory stores of all the books she's seen and read in the library of Karnan to see if this rings any bells, or even if she sees any weak spots on or vulnerabilities just visually on this creature?
Okay, roll an intellect for me, please.
Okay. Now, could potentially history
yeah.
or identifying or one of those skills work?
Either one of those would be pretty good.
I'm gonna go for history, and I'm also gonna use advantage.
Okay. It's more that you're looking at this and you are very aware of how the human body works because of what you've researched and things like that. And you look towards this creature and it is almost the layout of a human. You know they're probably going to have soft spots and weak points in the same areas that a human would. So it's very much you want to probably avoid, like, the only thing I will say, you probably want to avoid like the chest rib cage area, because you can see that looks almost solid like rock. But everything, you think that with enough power you could do some damage.
We should get towards the face.
Rika
It has
looks
eyes.
down at you for a moment. And then
If we're gonna take this thing down, we have to play smart. It has eyes and it's using them.
You want to blind it.
Or distract it, or...
And she sort of looks at the hilt of her sword and holds it out. We can do that. Florence, you get your wish.
The ship is, I think, already clumsily rising up towards the face. She only needed Paula to say half of that sentence.
And you head up and you can see this chaos sort of circling around you. And you climb up higher and higher. You're almost sort of just the same height as the ship now. You can see, on the outside, you can see Reese and Tuva clinging on to the side of this balcony. You can see Astrid. You see this. You see how damaged the ship is as you get closer and closer to the face. What would you like to do?
Florence, I think this is your chance, and if that doesn't work, we have a broadsword.
I'm taking it in, and she's going to try to fly this thing as close as possible, both to get near the giant's ears, but also to get them close to the eyes.
Okay. Yep, you can definitely direct it. There is quite a distance from the eyes to the ear. This is a very big thing, but you can get in that vicinity. You can hear the screams around you. You hear the shattering of things. You can see all the platforms running along the waters, trying to pick people up. What are you doing as you see this creature slowly turn towards you as you are literally in its eye line? And the eye of this creature is bigger than all of you together on this platform.
Florence swallows a couple times, and she promises herself that she's not going to look down, because now is not the time she can have her stomach fall out again. And she just tries to speak from her chest, or speak from her belly, and project her voice as loud as she can, hoping that maybe somehow it cuts through the hum of the vessel and through the screaming and through the wind, and so that this creature can hear her say anything. And she just shouts out, "We don't mean to harm you, please, just stop for a second. We can talk, we can make this right. We didn't mean to disturb or upset you."
As you yell this out into the sky, sort of straining your lungs over this almost battlefield that's going on around you, I need you to make an intellect check as you look it in the eye, please.
And specifically, Florence is trying to use an ability she's used kind of time and time again. Mm-hmm. It's on the tier 1 speaker abilities, and it's called Enthrall. So she's trying to basically grab its attention and keep its attention so that it stops, so that it doesn't attack, doesn't do anything. She's just trying to kind of hit a pause button on this thing. Whether or not it works, she is just going for broke. So I will use a 20 on the intellect check. This seems like a good time.
You reach out and you look into its eye, and there is a moment where it does stop, almost intrigued by you. And you look into its eyes, and as you do, they flare gold. Exactly like yours. And there's a moment where, Paula, you see Florence go rigid, as does this huge giant. Both eyes are almost exactly the same as they both swell gold. Florence, you're not on this ship anymore. You're stood on the edge of the Thunder Cliffs, looking out over this storm as it blazes. And there's someone holding your hand beside you. And it's like you're so rigid that you can't turn and look. Almost like by holding this thing's gaze, it holds yours. You feel a comforting hand lock and intertwine its fingers with yours. And you recognize a voice that is long gone. And you can feel this body almost lean towards you and rest his head on top of yours. You need to let go, or it's going to kill you.
And I think Florence holds his hand tighter, and she starts shaking. Malcolm, I don't know how to let go without you. I haven't done this without you. I stopped doing it because you weren't there anymore.
I know. And it's a very soft voice. And you feel your hand as it's squeezed in his. You don't understand. If you don't stop, it'll have you. And then I will never see you.
You were always the more reasonable one, weren't you? You were always, you're like it's you and Biddy always telling me how to keep my head on straight. And here you are again. I don't know how to let go, Malcolm.
You don't
but I'll
have
try.
to of me, but I need you to let go of this thing now. Right now. Blink.
Just give me another second.
And he says, I can't. And there's a moment where you feel his hand let go, and you almost feel like you're falling. You feel like you tip off the edge of this cliff. Like those grey rocks start rushing up to you. And you hear his voice. I miss you. And there's a moment where you snap back and you realize that this creature's hand is reaching towards you. And there is a yell from above. There is this wall of fire that seems to come up in front of this whole platform. You see Rika's sword raised. You see this flame from Matthias almost come bursting through as these fingertips are almost at your face, as if it was about to grab and pull you away. And there's one more thing I need to roll. I rolled the same. There's a moment where Rika turns to you, Paula, and goes, "Take hold of the ship, she's lost it." And she yells to you as she runs towards the edge to grab you. You feel like this huge arm go around your chest, Florence, as she pulls you back as this flame comes searing across. And you hear Matthias' voice going, "What the hell are you guys playing at?" As he sort of like swirls around again. And Florence, your eyes, the gold sort of disappears, and as soon as it disappears from your eyes, you see it disappear from this giant's. And it looks towards this burning flame, and it looks angry. And it swings up its arm and its hand, and it comes crashing down into Matthias. As you see Matthias gets struck. You watch his wings extinguish, and he just drops from the sky and disappears beneath the waves. Reese. The ship is starting to split. You can see it slowly starting to split in half. And there's this moment where you can see Tuva trying to like cling on to this thing. Her protective sort of shield is gone. You can see her legs sort of over the side trying to struggle to push herself up. Brenna, this red panda, almost mimicking her to try and get back up here. And you hear her yelling your name.
Oh, man. Jeez. How much rope do I have left since it obviously broke when we got knocked apart?
I'd say you have a decent amount left for sure.
Okay.
She's at one end of the balcony and you're at the other, and this split is going in the middle.
Well, you know, Reese is good at running and balancing, so screw it. He's gonna try and get over this gap before it gets too big by...
I'll let you roll a speed or a might.
Mm-hmm.
Do the thing. Do the thing.
I'm gonna use one of my nat 20s.
Go for it.
Thank you, Sphinx.
Thank you, Sphinx. Describe what it looks like for me, Mal, as you go to reach Tuva.
Oh, so I think it's almost like, it's almost like that other time when he ran faster than he should have been able to. And so he pushes off of from where he's been knocked, and he gets up, and he just immediately is legs pumping full on as hard as he can go because this gap is getting wider. And I think he throws himself across this gap, and it's not even like a long jump. It's almost like he just throws himself like almost like he's got a wingsuit on to try and get over this gap. And he'll hit the other side in a roll, and he'll scoop her up as soon as he can get close enough.
Almost in time, Astrid leaps the same time as you and this wolf sort of move almost with one motion across as this ship splits in half. All the sails ping away, all the cords go. You manage to tuck and roll, and you seize Tuva. You manage to scoop her up in your arms, and as you do, she shoves her face into your furs and screams as the ship comes crashing down into the water, and you feel this rush of cold ocean, that taste of salt, like that salt water in your mouth, as this ship just completely splits in half and starts to sink.
Well, being near a sinking ship in the water is bad, so he's gonna try and swim as hard as he can to put distance between them.
Okay, roll a might for me, please.
Do I trust roll 20 enough to roll, or should I use my other 20?
That is purely up to you.
Well, I realized I have an edge in might, so I gave myself some points back because I spent too many. So I will try and roll with another effort in might. 7.
You go to run and jump off of this platform as you realize the water is coming up to your neck. However, as you jump, you see Astrid jump as well, and you start swimming away, but the pull of that ship suddenly sucks you back down. Holla, could you roll me a speed to navigate this ship away, the platform you're on, away from this giant. I will say you saw Reese and Tuva fall.
Okay. Can I use navigation?
Absolutely.
Okay. I will use advantage, and I want to go towards where I saw Reese and Tuva.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
I used advantage. Sorry.
Either way, it's good. You weave in between everything that's falling. You sort of maneuver yourself as this hand sweeps down for you, and you manage to swing out the side. You see sort of Rika hold on to the side as she grabs sort of Florence, who looks very, very dazed, and you head towards this sinking ship. You can see almost a very faint outline of Reese and Tuva as they start to sink into this dark water.
I'll shout towards Rika. Rika, help them up!
And Rika,
trying to like keep my hands on the controls and not let go.
Yeah, Rika, Florence, you feel yourself almost gently sat down, sort of propped up against the barriers, which was around the back part of the ship. And she runs towards you, Paula, gives you probably a little too hearty slap on the back as you feel yourself jolt forward before she throws her sword and leather jacket down and dives down into this water. Tolan, you and Avrik are in this engine room, and as he looks at you and you're both panicking, you both sort of lock eyes for a moment when there's that crash and there's that creak and the splinter of wood and metal as you feel the ship sort of tip apart as if it splits in two, and you both fall back fully vertical as this ship's, you feel that sort of that pulse as it hits the water, and you start to feel it sink. And you sort of, that generator, it sparks, you see it, the lights in the room start to flicker and die as everything goes black, and you can feel water starting to pool around your feet.
Whole new problem.
He says okay, this is not what we came to the engine room for. We need to get out. We need to get out now.
I guess, so we got thrown down, so is the door like straight up from us?
It's now straight up. It's all metal along these corridors. We're going to sink quick. We need to get out.
Through the door, up there. We've got to climb.
Could you roll a might check for me, please? Try and climb out of here.
I am going to spend and use an advantage.
Okay.
Succeed.
You start to hurry up these steps. It's almost bizarre seeing everything flipped on its head again as you leave this engine room, and you hear that huge creak as the generator starts to tip and move, and you hear that sheared metal start to break and bend, and you can see this water getting higher and higher as it's now around Avrik's knees as he's trying to sort of climb up after you. This whole corridor system you came running down, you now have to climb as it is vertical. Somewhere you can hear the yelling from, you think it's from one of the pipes with like the speakers on the edge. That engineer going, "Get out! Get out! Get out now! Ship is going down."
Avrik is just, I'm sorry, Tolan is just, Avrik, come on. We've got to get out of here. Up, just keep going up.
I'm going. And he sort of like, he is right on your tail, moving up faster and faster. There is a moment where there's this crunch, and Avrik stops to look at you. What was that?
A ship falling apart that we're in the bowels of.
No. Wait. And he sort of turns, and the side of the ship of the corridor you're climbing up bursts. And these floods of water just start sort of piling in. And he's just like, I hate this. And he starts climbing up faster and faster. And as you're climbing, it is now around your waist.
We've got to go faster. We've got to get out of here.
I am trying to go as fast as I can as he sort of he's moving away. And one of the doors at the top where it lets you go into the next corridor has swung and slammed shut as it comes up.
Tolan has a horrible concern, but tries to go up to it and see. He's going to try to just push it a little bit to see if the other side is already flooded, if basically they're in an air pocket.
Roll a might for me, please.
Water's heavy, and I'm running out of stuff to spend. So I'm just going to roll and let the dice tell it. 16. He is adrenaline.
You are pushing on this door. You can feel a little bit of give. You can hear water running the other side, but it doesn't sound like the room's been filled. But it's building. The water is building in there. And you can feel like Averick is like, wait, I'm going to come up too. And he starts trying to push with you. And you feel this cold water starting to sort of take your breath away around your lungs, around your chest, as it's icy and it's dark. All the lights in here are starting to flicker out as well. There's a moment where it's jammed, it's on a lock. And he's paused it, there's got to be a lock in here somewhere. There's got to be a release mechanism, right?
Somewhere, yeah. Yes, of course there would be. It's a generator room. They don't want people coming in here. They could get killed if it's powered up. Where would it be? It's going to be by the generator. And he looks, I guess, back down.
Yeah. Would you like to swim?
Yeah, I think that's what he's got to do.
Roll a speed or might for me, please, whichever you prefer.
I'll do a speed, but Tolan is used to augmenting himself when he swims, so I'm going to keep this as normal. 12.
Okay. Describe how you dive back down.
So he dives back down, just sort of lets go and splashes down to make sure that at this point he's thinking, get Averick out. He's looking at that leg. He's concerned, of suddenly if it goes dead, or he basically Averick's got a brick around tied to him. It's grafted to his bones, so he's concerned. So I think he just lets go and sort of splashes backwards, and then holds his breath to dive down to see if he can find some sort of a way, something that's happened, some lever that's been pulled, something that has made it so that that the door would stay locked because it thinks the generator is on.
You swim down into this darkness, and that's exactly what it is. It's a pool of darkness. And the only way you're managing to find your way down is feeling along the walls, and you can feel those light fixtures as you drag yourself down further and further back through that first door. And you're pretty sure, feeling along the walls, you can feel this room maybe towards the generator. You can't see anything, but can I get you to roll an intellect to try and figure out where you are?
I'm gonna use the nat 24 to find out where I am.
Okay. You feel around, and you can feel like your chest tightening as the air is slowly running out and disappearing, and you feel lost in this darkness for a moment, and then there's a very soft silver glow that comes from back down the corridor, and you see Clyde and Averick swimming down. Clyde giving off this almost radiant glow, this silver that seems to get brighter and brighter. almost like a beacon in this darkness they follow you down. And it just takes that glimpse of Clyde entering the room, of you seeing that lever.
I grab it and pull it, and I think told to himself, just, why didn't you stay up there? Why didn't you stay up there? Just, you're mentally chastising Averick from not staying safe, but also knows that we might have gotten, without Clyde being there and that light, this might not have come together. So I think it's a little bit of both.
There's almost a moment where you're thinking that as you pull, you can feel the water resistance as it goes down to pull it. And almost in an instant, you feel Averick's hand on your shoulder tugging at your shirt. And you remember as he pulls you, and you both start swimming back up. Paula, you've just watched Rika disappear beneath the water. And there's still all of these things sort of falling out of the sky. You've seen the ship start to sink. All of the Valadrians are either in the water or trying to get people out of the water. And Florence, you've just seen Rika dive in. You feel very bizarre, if anything, almost like very woozy, very, very dizzy, but you can see Paula maintaining this flight, this position.
Can Paula see from where she is where Florence and Paula's room was on the airship?
It would be on the other part of the ship. It's close. It's like literally meters away. But yes, you can see it. You can see where that half of the ship is sinking. There are windows, but you can see it.
Paula would turn towards Florence. Florence, are you there? Are you there? Are you with us?
I think that's what finally makes Florence blink. The gold fades from her eyes, and she's still making this motion of holding onto someone's hand. And she almost screams out, "Malcolm! Oh God, we need to turn the ship! Oh, okay, I'm sorry, what did you say, Paula?"
Florence, I need you to take control of the ship.
That didn't turn out so... Okay, yeah. No, you're right. Sure. And she'll slowly clamber up to her feet and come over, even though she's still not all here.
Once Florence takes control, Paula will immediately try to hop off the ship onto like a part of the metal airship that's like exposed, and will try to make her way towards the bedroom, like the
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can definitely get on the ship, especially from your position. And you sort of land on the deck. You can feel it almost breaking away as you do it. You can see the water starting to pool around your feet as you head towards the top deck of the other side of the ship. You sort of jump over that split edge where it's all shattered, and you can see those steps down to the corridor. You head down that corridor, your feet clanging on that sort of wrought iron spiral staircase for a moment. It gives you that memory of the library as you head down into that corridor. And you can see where the ship is tipped, and you're going to have to wade sort of up past your waist, almost up to your shoulders, but you can see the door of your room.
Paula will throw herself at the door, hoping that it will open, hoping that there's no like pressure lock or anything.
No, there doesn't seem to be a pressure lock on the bedroom. You can sort of burst in, and you can see there's lots of papers and things that are being sloshed from side to side, what looks to be some clothing and things like that.
Paula will and pinch her nose and go under and look for her strong box that she had her compass and her book in her dad's book.
Okay, could you roll me an intellect check, please? And this is perception, so or navigate. I'll let you do either.
Yeah, no, do perception.
You sort of, as soon as you dive down, you realize how cold it is, and it almost makes you gasp, and you take in some water. You sort of gurgle and sort of have to get back up and sort of spit like this water out. I will let you roll one more time.
Paula will feel in her skirt for her pockets, and kind of everything feels wet, but she'll reach into one of them and you know, like praying that they're still there, and she'll pull out her gloves that were given to her by Deacon Marks. The white gloves that they're probably really soggy, but she'll try to put them on.
I would say with this, you can. You pull these gloves on, and literally as soon as they hit your fingertips, the crystals at the fingertips all light up. And you can dive back under that water. And you can roll with advantage if you want to do it again.
Oh my gosh.
No. On a 2, you know where you put this.
Okay.
You the water is dark, and you can hear it gushing in from places. You look around, that sort of very bizarre sort of glow in your hands, and you can see the box where it slid underneath the bed.
How am I feeling on breath? Like, do I have how much air?
You seem fine on breath right now.
Okay.
It's not too deep.
Yeah, Paula's gonna try to get under the bed, where she thinks she might see the box.
You manage to get under the bed. You manage to grab the box. It's literally sloshing around. So you manage to grab it and sort of resurface with a gasp of air as you realize that maybe you're on there a little bit longer than you realized, but absolutely fine. Then the wall on the other side bursts, and more water starts to flood in, and it is now that you have to tread water as it is coming up past your neck.
The window, does it look like the window can be opened from the inside?
You probably won't be able to open it, but you could try and break it.
Yeah, Paula will take the box, which is a sturdy metal box, and she'll try to smash the window with it.
Roll a might for me, please. Yeah, you.
Why aren't I using any of my?
You smash through the top half of this window, and you manage to push out all the shards of glass around the outside, and you can see that much of the surface. So you will have to hold your breath to try and squeeze out.
Yeah, and Paula will kind of try to bring the box in close so she can fit through this hole in the window, and go under again to get out of this airship.
Okay. You manage to dive under, and with those gloves still on, you duck under the water, and it is dark. You manage to sort of push yourself out. You can feel yourself get caught for a moment, but you push yourself out, and with your gloves on, you can see this debris just in the water dropping as you resurface the other side. Reese, you can feel your chest closing up. You can see that Tuva is almost in a very similar situation, and you see this, it's almost like your eyes are burning from the salt as this happens. You can see Astrid gripping onto you as if she's trying to pull you up, but the resistance and the drag is just too strong as you look down and see the ship start to get deeper and deeper into the water. And there's this figure seems to be swimming strongly towards you, and you feel almost like the front of your shirt is just grabbed by this fist, and I need you to roll a might to assist getting back up.
You know, I'm gonna spend that other nat 20 I was given.
You feel this almost like you're being pulled up, and for a moment you see like this face you don't know, but they have very similar characteristics not from Red Wolf Island, but from up north. You can see the similarities there as she pulls you up and drags you and starts to swim with you. She takes Tuva off of you as she goes. She looks a little bit limp. She's still conscious, but she's limp, and she's pushed Tuva up and is swimming faster and faster towards the surface before she breaks. And you and Astrid are swimming as you haven't swum probably in a long time, and probably not by choice, as you sort of head up and you feel how cold this water is, and you head up to the top and you break that surface and you take that gasp of air, and you can see Florence. And this huge woman turns to look at you, and she's holding Tuva up almost just out of the sea, and she's smacking her on the back. You can see Tuva like like coughing up all of this water, and this woman doesn't seem to react when a dragon pokes its head out of this denim jacket and crawls up onto the shoulder, looking very much like a drowned rat as it clings and wraps itself around Tuva's shoulders. And she looks to you as this way and starts to swim towards where you can see Florence.
Yeah, Reese doesn't spare any talking. He just follows.
Florence, you see this Rika comes swimming towards you and almost flings this child on board. She lays there on her back, like coughing and spluttering, rolling over onto the side, all this water sort of pouring out of her. Renna almost mimicking, even though no water's actually coming out.
Florence is at the controls of this little platform, and she's clinging on to what she can for dear life. She's feeling herself kind of lurch, and she's trying to half keep an eye on Paula, who's just left, and half trying to keep an eye on where the people in the water are so that the platform is close. And meanwhile, her mind is still back on the Thundercliffs, and I think tears begin to well up in her eyes as she just shakes and holds on to this, and she's just muttering to herself, Malcolm, I haven't seen you in so many years, and am I gonna have to get in trouble again to see you again? And that's all she can think about as she just tries to keep to course.
You see Rika sort of climbs on board. You feel this huge tip as she does, and this weight of water running off her. She holds out a hand to you, Reese.
He'll grab it and, try and help her pull him up.
Yeah, she grabs like the almost at your elbow, helping you pull up. Astrid sort of needs a bit of help as she scrabbles on the back, but she does eventually get on. And there's this moment where all the ships are gone. There's not a single one left in the sky. And this giant stands looking up towards the sky itself. Down in the water in the ship as it sinks, Tolan and Averick is pulling you up towards to where that door is, and you can see where it's the latch has gone. And Averick is pulling it open and sort of heads to get in. Come on, quick! In!
Yep, Tolan climbs up and through. He is exhausted. He is feeling his age, feeling, having not been able to fix the generator before, and just really recognizing the difference in himself now compared to his younger days, and certainly his days when he had magic, and something like this would have been far easier with his skills and shaping.
You sort of you feel how out of breath you are as you climb into this last sort of heavy metal corridor, and it's wrenching. You can hear Averick breathing behind you as he starts to climb through this door. And then you pause for a moment when you hear a creak and crunch of metal. And there's a moment where it's almost as if something was gripping this corridor and squishing, like crushing this metal, like it was just ripping through it. And you see from one side this huge finger of something comes through and starts to crush the metal around you, and it crushes the door frame, it crushes the corridor, and it crushes the door frame between you and Averick. And you see this whole thing as if the metal is start to twist, and you hear Averick cry out as he yells, as his hand retracts. And there's about this much space, and you can see Averick with this door open, and you can be very, and he is wincing and he is yelling.
Tolan goes running back and tries to give him a hand and try to somehow pull him through, or just stay with me, Averick. Come on, come on.
Hang on. He tries to reach like his hand through, and he can sort of like, it's like he's maneuvering it through his chest, sort of contorting it a little bit and reaching out. And he does grab your hand, but he's like, my leg is stuck. Like really, really stuck. I can't move it, and it really, really hurts. There's something really crushing my leg down there.
Tolan will try to look around them and see if he can see what's happened with Averick's leg.
Can you roll an intellect check for me, please?
Yes, and I'm going to use an advantage. And I'm going to... can I use focused on this?
Yes, you can.
And I'm going to spend an effort. What is going on? 16.
Okay. On that, you sort of look down and you can see where this metal corridor has literally been squished. It's like being in a tin can. It has completely wrapped itself around Averick's legs, almost as if it's like full bind and locked. And as you look at him, you can see this fear and panic in his eyes, and the water is up to his chin. As he's looking, he's just like, okay, I don't want to, worry anyone or anything, but I'm starting to panic. I don't know what to do, Tolan. I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know what this is. I don't have anything anymore that can help this. And he sort of stops for a moment, and his head dips. I'm really fucking scared, Tolan, and I don't know what to do. And you can see that water sort of rise up as water goes into his mouth, and he spits it out to the side.
Tolan looks around. Does he see Clyde?
You can see Clyde almost incorporeal, sort of coming up through the door, and he is whining. He is at this door. He's sort of half pulling on Averick's sleeve that has come through. He's like, Tolan, I'm really starting to panic.
Averick, listen to me. Listen to me. I need you to grow gills right now.
Tolan, this is not funny. I have not done that for years, and I can't do it now. I don't have it anymore.
Tolan, Averick, you can do it because I can do it. I know you can do it. You've been shaping little things for the last 8 years since the accident. You can do this.
Tolan, I can't. Get out of here, because otherwise this whole ship is gonna crash and then that's it. Just get out.
Averick, you can do it and you will do it.
What makes you so sure about everything?
The artifact, it wasn't Baron that was severed. It was Clyde. But it also let Baron and I, we agreed. We transplanted Baron onto you. That's not Clyde. It's always been Baron. You have my magic. It always has been. You know in your heart it's been true. The leg was a splint while the transplant healed.
Wait.
It is yours. He is fully yours now. The leg is broken, but he is still here. And Tolan, there's a tiny thread of Baron that he has been holding on to that's kept a tiny bit of magic with him, and just internally he lets go of that and fully lets Baron go to be one with Averick. Grow gills right now, and then grow muscles and drag yourself out of here, and we're getting out.
And Averick pauses. He's like, that's why we both survived it.
Yes.
So I think they're crazy.
I'm not crazy. Look in your heart and just do it. And can I give Averick my nat 20?
Yes, you can. As you see him turn and he looks towards Baron, and sort of mouths the name, and his head disappears beneath the water. For a moment, there is this flash of silver light. This absolute, almost like you feel the metal around you start to rumble and start to crack as if it starts to reopen and bend, completely out of shape but in a different way. As you see Baron get larger and larger, and that almost fiery silver flame which is burning underwater. And around you, as you've got your hands and knees on the floor talking to Averick, that water bursts through the wall. And as you let go of that thread, Tolan, you feel cold. You feel weird. Like, the only way to describe it is that the thing that kept you stable is gone. There's that moment of shakiness and instability where you almost feel like your head goes foggy and your eyes start to fog over. And then there's this explosion from beneath you, and this almost flash of silver light as Averick comes pushing up out of this almost encased sort of crushed metal as it moves around him, almost very much for a moment in your stature and body shape that you were when you were younger. You can see gills sort of all formed all the way down the side of his neck as Clyde stands there. And you feel like your head is foggier and foggier. As that water rushes in, you feel it seep up over your mouth, nose, and eyes. And then you feel an arm go around your chest and start to push upwards. Florence, Reese, and Paula, you are looking over this ocean, this sort of massive, there's no land in sight, nothing at all. And you could see this giant almost wading away, sort of shifting through the debris, getting lower and lower into the ocean, almost as if it's slowly leaving. And you watch the airship, all of these Valadrian airships, sink. And you stand there. And the sea is calm as it starts to almost return to normal. You're not too sure, but it doesn't feel right. As you look around and the ship sinks, Averick and Tolan aren't there.
I think Paula, her eyes burning from trying to keep them open under the salt water, would even after climbing out this window and escaping the room, would start swimming out and with her light hand and scan the waters, trying to look for either Talon, Averick, or Matthias in the water. I mean, as best she can, and occasionally dipping her head under, but like her eyes are probably searing at this point from trying to keep them open under.
Okay. And what is Reese and Florence doing?
I think Florence is still really shaken. At this point, she's really trying to focus on the people who are on the ship, and I think her ears are open to listen for commands and to be told what to do, but she's not really in a place right now where she's making plans. Tears, I think, are kind of starting to stream down her face as she just whispers over and over again, "Malcolm, I wish I could have seen you for just a little bit longer."
What about Reese?
I think if Florence is sort of on the way to where Rika and Tuva are, he'll give her a quick, like, as he walks by, he'll pat her because he can see what's going on and hear her say that. But he's gonna go to Tuva and make sure she's okay.
You head over to Tuva. She's coughing and spluttering. She's sitting back up. You can see that Brenna seems to have shrunk to almost nothing but a hand size as she's cradling her. There's dragon wrapped round her neck. She looks to you and quickly throws her arms around you. She doesn't say anything, but you can feel her little hands grab the furs around your shoulders.
Yeah, he just holds her. He does his best. Even though he's soaking wet too, he does his best to cover her with what he can of his outfit, and he just holds her really tight.
And
are you okay?
She's like, no. I'm not. At least, I mean, I should say I am, but I'm not. I can't see Matthias. I can't see Tolan, and I can't see Averick.
He'll just hold her and stroke her head.
This is not what I imagined when we said we were going on an adventure. And she sort of just stuffs her head in your shoulder. And Paula, you're looking around. You've got this almost glow in this darkness. It's a very bizarre, almost eerie feeling. And as you look down, you spot Averick swimming strong. He is swimming very, very strongly. You can see bubbles that seem to be almost arising out from his neck rather than anything else. This silver light almost rushes up to meet you as this huge Anarchway. If a dog could jump on you in the water, that's what this is doing. And you can see in his arm as he's swimming with one hand, Tolan, completely limp.
And Averick, bring Talon to the ship. There's a ship, and then come help me look for Matthias.
He's like, and he sort of heads up, and he's like, I need to make sure he's okay first. And he sort of heads over, and when you actually pass, you can see Tolan is not breathing properly, and he looks different. There's something odd about him. But Tolan, you are thrown up onto this deck. You are still semi-conscious. But there's a moment where you can feel that warm sunlight again. And there's a moment where Averick is leaning over you and he's just like, come on, and he's hitting you at the side. He's like, you are an idiot, an utter fucking idiot.
It was the right thing to do.
Okay, well, look, because we found a way for us both to be okay before, so we'll find it again, and I just need you to be fine, is basically what I'm telling you. This is not, and he just sort of like dips his head, so it hangs there as he puts his hands on your shoulders.
I told you. I'm not cut out for this anymore. But you are. Look at you. Look what you did. You saved us.
And he looks over to Baron and he's like, you realize what severing an Anarchway does?
I do. I saw what it did to you. You were unconscious for almost 3 days, and I saw you go out of your mind.
I don't remember that.
So I had to fix it. It's what I do.
You broke something to fix something.
It's how many things are fixed in this world.
And you can see like his eyes are red and tears sort of well up. He's like, you're still an idiot.
Definitely.
And he takes hold of your hand and you feel it squeeze so tightly, almost with the strength you used to have. And there's a moment where you feel your chest sort of like gurgle up with water and feel it tighten. And you feel almost just so cold. And you're looking up and you look at Averick, Paula, Florence, Reese, and even Tuva sort of leans over to have a look, and she pushes your hair off of your forehead and she hands you your hat. And there's a moment where you blink a few times and it's like you don't recognize who's in front of you. These faces don't seem to register. Even Averick's, there's a hint of recognition there. And as this Anarchway sort of leans over, as Baron looks at you, you can feel, just for a moment, that slight connection. As if it's the last thing you recognize. And then you can smell that damp, the salt, and then you don't recognize anyone at all around you. And there's this moment of something else you can smell. You can smell magic. And Paula, as you pull yourself up on board, you watch Tolan's eyes glaze over. And he starts to change. And his chest seems to slow and stop. And he starts to sniff the air. And what you saw in Noah, you see in Tolan as he closes his eyes and is no longer Tolan, as his Anarchway has been severed and cut away, and this group stands round a fallen friend who lays there. But for Tolan, there's this moment where you close your eyes and for a moment you're sat in Castaccino's laughing with Edric, and then you're sat making tea or being told how to make tea correctly by this face you think you recognize. You think his name's Averick. You remember that sign of broom binding somewhere. You see Paula, maybe that's her name, sat in broom bindings reading a book. And you can feel that hot sand of the desert of your younger self beneath your feet as a much younger Averick is laughing. Both of you are Narquays either side of you. Finding that well and that cave of stars. And then there's that moment where you're stood in front of the season tree. And that small, little green monkey and Narquay runs around your feet as you bend down to look at it. And it reaches out. And you hear that song. And you sing it back as the last singer. And then you're stood in the Gardenia district. Flowers in bloom, with Clyde sat at your heel. And that is where we will leave this season, I think, of Dunera. Is everyone okay?
Whoa.
That was amazing. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Loved it.
Oh, Torswood, do you want to explain?
So, as Tolan becomes a shadow person, next season I will be picking up and playing Averick as we continue our adventures.
Yeah, he's not leaving.
No, I'm not going anywhere. And
I was hoping.
I think Tolan's probably last maybe whispered words were, "Do find a cure, won't you?"
I feel Averick won't stop until he does.
So yeah, I'll see next season. I will be back here and just even we'll start to get to know Averick better, but also get to know Tolan better from a third person of someone who traveled with him for a long time. So, and
Awesome.
Thank you, Alice, for
No, thank you.
for such a great send-off.
It's all good. Thank you all for making this finale amazing. So, everyone please check out the links coming up in chat. That includes the Discord. We have a channel just for this game. I have so much love for this game and the people in it, so please go check them out, and we'd love to hear what you think, because this is, in my opinion, an amazing story we're all telling together, and everyone brings something to it. If you've missed out on anything, head over to YouTube. You can find playlists for this and other games where you can catch up over there. And also Twitter. It's coming up for this next season. We have 5 D&D viewer games. I will be running one of them since season 1. My gosh, I'm back. So please drop Scratticus on Twitter and we'll get you into a game. Otherwise, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors who we couldn't do this without, in the form of Hero Forge, who have been smashing goals left, right, and center, Mage Hand Press, and also the wonderful Deck of Many with the Deck of Many Things. Otherwise, until next season, we'll see you then. Keep evoking emotions. Bye.
Hey everyone, we will be right back in around half an hour, well, 3/4 of an hour, with the tact and diplomacy finale. Until then, take a moment, stretch your legs, shake it off a little bit. I'm definitely going to shake off some of those emotions before we go into the tact and diplomacy finale. And we'll see you in about 45 minutes. So sit tight.